This meeting is being recorded.
All right, perfect. All right, let's go ahead and kick things off. I know that we'll probably have a few people join as we go, but thank you very much, everybody, for joining our very first Oklahoma Energy Speaker Series. Want to welcome all of our players, our families, and our friends. Thanks to First Fidelity Bank for their support of this. Thanks to Team Butler for their support in putting this together. We are really excited about this being our first speaker series. As we are being reminded a lot right now, there's a lot more to soccer than what's happening on the field right now. And this really kind of gives us an opportunity to bring a different perspective as far as soccer to our audience, to our members, to our families, and to our friends. From our leaders that are on and off the field, especially our alumni who have come through OEFC, and OEFC has played a big part in what they've done and where they've gone, and that makes me really, really excited to be able to introduce our very first alumni speaker, Garrett McLaughlin. Garrett, welcome. I will go ahead and appreciate you taking the time out of your what is probably a very busy schedule to to attend and share a little bit about your experience with soccer with us.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. I'm definitely excited to kind of share a little bit about my path through soccer and OEFC.
So those of you may not be a little aware of or knowledgeable of who Garrett is. Garrett is an OEFC local player, played through our program. I tried to find some of the accolades for you, Garrett, and some of your achievements, and there were way too many to list on this call, so I picked out some of the highlights, in my opinion. So definitely 2015 Gatorade Player of the Year while you were in high school, a three-time Oklahoma high school state champion. Then moved on to college at Southern Methodist University, where you were American Athletic Conference Rookie of the Year for 2016. Senior year at SMU, you had 16 goals, including a 5-goal event versus Cincinnati. And then in a number of, 3 conference titles?
Yep, something like that. Sounds about right.
And then, of course, you were drafted 8th in the 2020 MLS Super Draft for the Houston Dynamo. So lots of really wonderful accolades. And then, of course, you signed with Houston's USL team, the Rio Grande. Is it Grande Valley FC?
Yeah, just RGV is easier. RGV Toros.
RGV. I would go with RGV from this point forward. And then, of course, you started in it was the only game that RGV had this year, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Just able to get one in. So lots to talk about, lots to share with the group. I'm excited about some of the things that you can tell us about, but got to start where everybody is sitting today. Everybody is kind of itching to get back on the field. Everybody's quarantined in. So tell us a little bit about what are you doing? How are you spending your days in a lockdown right now?
Yeah, so I started reading this book first and foremost. It's called Legacy. I think my mom actually got it for me. So shout out Liz. I know she's in here. And there was this one chapter in the book. It was chapter 10, I believe. And it talked about how, you need to have a set schedule or like do this to kind of hold yourself accountable. And it's like, here, I think it's right here. It's on page 1. I'm just going to read this really fast. So it's just a little excerpt. There's an old story about a J.P. Morgan, the banker philanthropist, who was shown an envelope containing a guaranteed formula for success. He agreed that if he liked the advice written inside, he would pay $25,000 for its contents. Morgan opened the envelope, nodded, and paid. The advice: every morning, write a list of things that you need to get done that day and do them. So basically what I have decided to do is I write a list. That's just a list every day. First thing, I always make my bed. Second, eat breakfast. Third thing, I have to do something productive, whether that's read, go on a walk. and before I can like play any video games or do any of that stuff, which I haven't been able to do lately because the Wi-Fi issue. Um, but it just makes me feel a little bit better about myself rather than just because I could just sit inside all day and do nothing. And it's kind of I always just try to get better at something. So soccer, tennis with my friends, go out, juggle, dribble the ball, um, run. Started to pick up some yoga. And then so that's basically what I've been up to. So
I feel like your mother probably had a lot of influence on item number one of making your bed. Does she have
yes,
the influence on the yoga as well?
no, I would say she doesn't. No, I'd probably say um, I found this cool little. It's called the Body Bar. I think Gabby Noble works there sometimes, and they have these free online classes with yoga, and so I've just been doing those every time they pop up. So it's been pretty awesome.
That's great. So training wise, all of our kids in the club have been figuring out different ways to train virtually. Of course, being locked up at home or not really being able to get to groups. Our coaching staff has done a really great job of putting videos out there to train. Have you figured out different ways to train virtually?
I would really just say I've been playing a lot of the soccer, tennis, working on my touch with my friends. That's probably the most thing I've been doing, but um, other than that, it's been dribbling through cones and playing with my roommate because we're really not allowed to be in big groups of people. So really not much more than that. But it's been nice. I still feel super fit, and whenever the season rolls around, I'll be ready. So.
Perfect. And then basically for fun, if you don't want to think about soccer at all, what are you doing?
Oh man. Um, Probably either watching a movie or going on a walk or playing some FIFA or Fortnite or whatever. That's usually as of right now. That's all I got to do. Can't really go out and explore or do anything yet. But that's kind of what I've been up to.
Well, I know that you had a little bit of a level of competition against some other clubs here recently. Was that a FIFA tournament that you were playing in?
Yes, it was. Yeah, there was a RGV Toros like fan FIFA tournament, and so I entered, and there was like 64 players, and I got to the round of 16, but then my Wi-Fi went out, and so I had to forfeit. Um, yeah, don't get me started on that because that was. We'll just leave it at that.
So how did you get chosen to play? Did you have to? I mean, did you have to go through some preliminary on the team, or did they just say anybody
No,
wants to play?
yeah, the PR department or they just said, "Hey, anyone want to play in a FIFA tournament?" And I said, "Yeah, I do." So they just signed me up. So yeah, that's how I got in.
So who did you play against?
Oof, I don't, I don't remember their
Were they
names, but
fans or were they players of other
yeah,
clubs?
they're fans. Yeah, just
Okay.
fans.
So it was just between the fans of our RGV then and yourself. Is
Yeah,
it
then
is the
there was a
tournament
few other
over?
players. No, I still think it's going on, but I just haven't really been paying attention to it because I'm not in it anymore. Um, I think actually they played yesterday, and then I think the final is next Wednesday.
We're
So
gonna have to talk to the club about investing in better Wi-Fi then, because they don't want their strongest players kicked out just because of Wi-Fi.
that's what I'm saying. You need to put in a good word for me or something.
We'll see if we can draw a pool of money with your fans to get you some better Wi-Fi.
Go fund me.
There you go. Well, I want to talk a little bit about your history with the club. Of course, every good superhero has a good backstory, and want to find out a little bit about your backstory. So, thinking back all the way to the beginning, where does your soccer career start?
Well, yeah, my soccer career started with the Storm, Oklahoma City Storm. with, Nick Noble. I know he's on the call, and Tommy Noble was my first coach. And so that was kind of my beginning. I played with all my really good friends, and I'm still really good friends with all of them today. I played, I think, up a year, and I felt like that alone really helped me kind of grow and become more confident as, even at that young age. I really do feel like that helped elevate my game and help me get to, all my stepping stones of where I am right now.
So then, as you were thinking at the beginning of your stage, if you think back as at that point, and could give some advice to some of our newer players that are just getting into the game, what are some of the areas that you focused on to build your skill level, or you would recommend they focus on?
Yeah, I would say first and foremost, you need to, fall in love with it. Don't think it's just something that it has to get done or you have to play. Like, if you want to be successful at it, you have to love it and enjoy it, be passionate about it first and foremost. And then, you always have other options to do the extra stuff, like, train at home, dribble, like pass against the wall. I know I'd always dribble around the house, and I ended up breaking a few things here and there along the way, like some plates and some things, but juggle and, do some privates if you're able to, and, always work on yourself and ask other coaches or, hey, what do I need to work on, and work on those things if you can't see them. That's kind of what I would say um, for a few things.
And I apologize for this, but I do want to make sure to share to a little bit. Let me see if I can increase this a little bit for everybody. But I do want to make sure that everybody saw the origins of the McLaughlin machine, and of course the influence of Tommy Noble there. So this is the record-winning Storm. Of course, you can see that the trophies were won early. So I think that was obviously a sign and a precursor to greater things to come. But now, when you played, was the Storm through Edmond Soccer Club, NOKC Soccer Club?
Oh man, I think it was NOKC. I remember I played all the games there. So that's
you probably can't forget losing all the balls down the hills on that. So that's probably good.
I'll never forget that. I will never forget that. In the game, you just got to go run super fast. Hopefully, it doesn't roll all the way down. And
so, how much of your speed can you attribute to chasing the balls as the wind is blowing them away?
I'd say about 95%. 95%.
That
Tommy Noble really prepared me. He knew you got to play it in OKC. That's where all the kids gain some extra speed. I know it worked for Keon and all the other ones on the call. So,
of course, well, those early sprints that you had to do probably helped quite a lot.
For sure.
So then, after starting with the Storm and moving in probably through the NOKC Academy, you got into OEFC, or what was OFC at that time. Tell me a little bit about some of your better memories around OFC.
Yeah, so I think I have a lot of different memories. Not all like, when I think memories, I don't really think of like the state cups or, I just think about my teammates that I've had through the years of going through OFC and, my coaches. So I think I really don't remember who was my first coach. I hate to say that with OFC. I think it was Jimmy Hampton. And then like Jesse Faley was there a little bit, and back and forth. But I think those two really helped me gain confidence in myself as well. So I think that's a memory that I won't forget. They always push me to be better, and I think that's what you need to be successful. Someone who is in your corner, but will not just like kind of let you coast. They care. If they're not yelling at you or not, demanding something, then they don't really care. So I think that's one memory that I'll never really forget. As well as just the fun being around a team and a culture, that's something you'll never forget as well. So I'd say just a few of those things.
So, which teams did you play for? I knew you were in at 98 just because of the relationship that we've had throughout the years. It was 98 to the 97s, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, so go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, 98 coach was, we had a few, and then 97s was Jesse Faley.
Yep, I do really. I remember at least in the part that where I got to watch him play with the 98s. It was Brian Harvey towards the end. And that was a really quite a fun time. I'm not going to put you on the spot and say who is your favorite coach because that might be unfair. But I will put you on the spot and say, going through OFC and playing throughout those years, what do you think was your biggest rival? Who was your biggest rival?
Oh man, my biggest rival. I mean, probably TSC if I Tulsa.
Yeah.
I mean, we had always played them every year in the state cup, and I mean, every single year we would play them in the state cup in the final. And most often we beat them every time, so that was always a good feeling. But I'd probably say TSC.
Yeah. Any remarkable games that you just remember playing against them that even to this day, just in the back of your mind, you're like, yeah, I played that game?
Yes, I do. I hate to talk about myself, but there were a few memorable goals I've scored against them. That I probably won't ever forget. I think it was when I was playing with the 97s, I scored a really good goal, and I think it was I don't know if it was, I think it was the state cup. I honestly don't remember. It was in the state cup tournament, maybe not the final, but it was a pretty special goal. So that's something I'll always remember.
And then, kind of similar to the previous question, there's a quick pic of you in action during the OFC days and those wonderful. You would be surprised what comes up when I Google you.
That's funny.
Yeah, actually, this one was out of my personal archives. So, so quality, and you can't forget those uniforms. That's for sure. But similar to the question when you were in a youth, that talking to the members of our club who are maybe before high school age, just now almost getting to high school age, but going through the club, tell them a little bit about things that you would recommend them focusing on. Where do they want to kind of have their skill level by the time they get into high school?
Yeah, I mean, I would say high school is a very important time for, development. And I think the first step is they need to commit to playing and say, okay, do I want to play college soccer? And I think that's the time, the freshman, sophomore, you need to really commit your time and effort to getting better. So I think that'd be the first thing for me. I know that's what I did. I think it was going into my sophomore year of high school. I was like, okay, I do want to play college soccer, and hopefully, after that, I could play professionally. Okay, so I'm going to commit more time to this, and I had to subtract a little bit of football, basketball, and I really, really went for it. So I think that's really important to find, what you're passionate about. Maybe that's not soccer, maybe it's something else. And then once you become, committed, then work on yourself, work on your mental game, work on, your feet. If you're a striker, work to turning and, with your back to goal and shooting, your layup, your laying offs, headers. It just kind of comes down to what you need to work on. It's not really one set thing.
So when you were going through OFC and developing your game, was there a point when you felt like you need to start specializing a little bit on a position, or Did you feel like you needed to just be a little bit more well-rounded? At what point do you decide, you know what, I'm going to be a striker, or you know what, I'm going to be a defender? In your mind, where do you want to make that decision?
I I've never once said, okay, I'm going to be a striker. I've just I feel like players just kind of go. Coaches will put you where they see fit. Um, I know when I was with the Dynamo, they thought I was going to be a winger. So they at first they put me at winger, and I was trying to learn how they wanted a winger to play. They wanted him to stay wide, don't really come inside too much. And then we had a scrimmage, and I played first half winger, and then second half I played up high, and then they absolutely loved me up high and the runs I made. So then they just moved me to striker, and then I didn't play winger anymore. So it just kind of, I wouldn't really say one. You don't need to specialize in a position because yes, I can play a winger. That's not a problem. But what makes me valuable is that I can play three different positions, not just one. That's what I would say for young kids is don't just think if you're a midfielder, like a center mid, you're just going to be a center mid. Maybe try center back or right back, like learn and, pick your teammates' brains about, the positions that you could possibly want to play. I think that's one thing that I wish I would have done a little bit earlier is, learn more positions and how to make runs or where to go when we have the ball, how to defend. So I think that's one thing that I wish I would have done for sure.
Absolutely. Well, whatever you did, it's paid off for you pretty well at this point, I think. And I do wanted to make sure to tell you that when you say you don't like talking about yourself, you're kind of on the wrong platform not to talk about yourself. So we need to kind of make sure that you're talking about yourself on this. At least give me the next 20 minutes of that. So, no, you're doing awesome. This is wonderful. I'm really having a great time. So let's make another shift here. Let's go to high school. And of course, I know your high school career very, very well. Coached by the great Tommy Riley. Tell me of those 4 years. What is your best memory of high school soccer? And of course, you were playing for a Heritage Hall. I want to make sure to say that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I would definitely say my favorite memory was playing with my brothers for sure. That was number one. But then after that, I would say, the first state championship when, I think the year before when I was in eighth grade, didn't make playoffs. You could probably remember that. I don't know if we did or whatever, but didn't have a great year. And then we, Keon, Lamar, myself, we all became freshmen and now we're playing soccer. And, we go 17-0. And then in the state championship, we win 1-0 and we're defending for our lives the last, 10 minutes. And it was just the most satisfying. And, that was definitely the first one, you'll never forget. So I think that's probably one of the most special memories for sure.
Yeah, to set the picture for everybody, state finals playing in Tulsa against Booker T. Washington, who had been to the state finals a number of times. So they were familiar territory. We had been there a couple of times in the Heritage Hall career, but it's been a while. Score at the beginning of or at the end of the first half, maybe. And then, as you said, it was about defending for at least the last 10 minutes. I mean, I get the sense that you can kind of almost still picture yourself there. What's your gut? I mean, how are you feeling in that kind of moment where you're hanging on in a state final?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely. I wouldn't say it was a really long time ago, so I can't remember exactly what I was feeling, but I would say I wasn't nervous, but I just wanted to, execute like how we defended. And, I was not going to let them through. It was kind of my mentality. Like, I had a little bit left and I was going to give it all. I would say that's kind of how I felt for sure.
And then similar to the previous stage of your life, Who in high school did you see as your biggest rival?
Oh man. Um, well, I think we had two. One was obviously Deer Creek when we played them, um, but they moved to 6A, so um, I mean maybe East Central, but we beat them every year in the state semi, so I wouldn't really even say them either. But probably Deer Creek.
Yeah, I remember a couple of really good games with Deer Creek, and there was a lot of good relationships across between the teams. So it was an interesting matchup in that third championship game that the team went to. So again, kind of on the same theme as before, a kid going through OEFC, their goal is to make that high school team. They may not have a goal of playing in college, may not have a goal of going pro, but their goal is to make that high school team. Share a little bit of insight in what you would tell that player as far as mentality, what to work on, how they should approach it.
Yeah, I think OFC, if you really started at a young age and played OFC and developed through, I mean, because there's some amazing coaches with OEFC now, um, and then you're trying to transition to the high school game as well. I would say one thing that I was lacking at first was probably physicality of the game because not all high school players are actual, true soccer players. Yes, they're going to run into some older, club players um, and you'll see that in almost every team. There'll be a few, but then there'll be some other ones that are a lot bigger than you, and you need to adjust to that. Um, and that's probably one thing I would say is just the physicality of high school soccer is different than club. So I'd get ready for that because
Yeah,
everyone's
that is.
feet will be fine, and so I would just say that.
Yeah, that is certainly true. I remember playing some Clinton teams that seemed to be a little bit more physical than others.
Yes, that is true.
So, and then of course, on the same theme, let me share the got that pic of you playing high school. I should have shared it a little bit
Oh, there we
earlier,
go.
but let's see, there you go.
The hair.
An action, yeah. That was almost like COVID quarantine time when there were no barbers around.
I know. I'm letting my beard grow out. It's been about a month. So,
Yeah, I noticed that. I'm sure your mother will have comments about that after we're done.
she probably will. She probably will.
All right, so let's move on to SMU.
Okay.
Near and dear to my own heart, of course, because that is my alma mater. Tell me a little bit about the recruiting process and getting there.
Yeah. So when I committed to wanting to play soccer in college, that was probably my going into my sophomore year, and then so I started after my freshman year of high school, I put together a little like huddle mixtape. I'm sure it's still there. And I sent that out to I don't know how many Division 1 teams, and um, I always thought I wanted to go to University of Tulsa. So that I probably sent them the same tape probably 5, 6 times, and no one ever answered me. So I was just like pretty upset, but I was like still a freshman, so I still had some time. Um, yeah. So I mean, I don't really know where I go with this, but it's definitely it was a stressful time even at that young age, because I was like, well, maybe I'm not, good enough. I mean, maybe Division 1's not an option for me, because I started to get, a lot of Division 2, Division 3, and a few NAIA like looks, and I was like, okay, like that's totally fine. Like everyone has different routes to get to where they need to go. Um, but then they finally, emailed me back and said they were interested, and um, so I was like, oh, I'm locked in on Tulsa. So I took a visit with both my other brothers, Lamar and Matthew, and went on a visit, and the campus it's nice, it's private, it's small, And then the offer came and it just wasn't, what I wanted it to be. And, I was pretty upset and, I thought I was worth more than what they were offering. And so I kind of took a week and then we ended up going to a showcase in Arizona with the 97. So when I was with Jesse Faley and I played a few games and then in the hotel, I just get a knock on my door and, um, you know, Jesse's like, "Hey, SMU wants to talk to you." It's like, I don't what? No, I don't want to go to SMU. Like, I want to go to Tulsa. Like, I just want, some more money. He's like, "Oh, just, have them, just, hear them out. Just get on a call with them and, see what you think." And so, I did. And, at the time, Kevin Hudson, he was the assistant. So he gave me a call and, he made me feel super comfortable just from the um, first talk on the phone. We hardly even talked about, what like the playing time and none of this. He was just kind of giving me like his pitch of SMU and Dallas. And obviously I was very familiar with Dallas because OFC, you always, every other weekend you're in Dallas playing games and stuff. So
Right.
I felt very comfortable and took a visit and absolutely loved it. And he gave me an offer I couldn't refuse. And so I just committed right away. So it took about a few days and then boom. So that was kind of my journey of, and that was my middle of sophomore year, I believe.
Yeah. So first year at SMU went pretty well, I'd say. You got Rookie of the Year. The team did very well. I forget whether you guys won the division that year or not. Do you remember?
No.
We didn't. Tell me a little bit about the change from coming from a very, very competitive team in OEFC or OFC at the time into college soccer. Did you think you were prepared? Did you think that was there a big jump in the skill level and the competition level?
Yeah, so I think for me at least, I know I had doubts that I was, I didn't play, DA. I know that's no longer a thing recently, but all the guys on the team except for like two or three, played DA, and I was like, and then there was a few on the national team and national team pools, and like, man, I just played club soccer, high school soccer, and um, I never played, DA, and am I good enough here? Like, I don't know if I belong, So like that was a little dip in confidence for me. Um, but when I got there, I knew right away that I belonged, and that was just kind of all in my head because OFC really did prepare me and boosted me into um, becoming not right away, but becoming a starter for SMU. I remember those times in the first few preseason practices. There we do like 11v11 like walkthroughs, and I wouldn't even be in either of the 11s. I was just on the side like watching, and that was a shock to me because I felt like I've always been a really important player on any team I went to, and so that was a little bit difficult for me at first. But I think positive self-talk and is super important if you want to be successful. And I still struggle with that sometimes as well, but it's a continuous process that I think people need to work on. So, but that's
Yeah.
kind of how it went. Then I became a starter and won that award. So it all worked out.
So there was I believe maybe it was junior year that you were injured for a period of time over the season. Tell me a little bit about how you approached that.
Yeah. So it was my sophomore year of college. It was about halfway through. I started to get some like midline pain and midway through our season, and um, it just kept getting worse every game. So I like went to my trainer. It's like, there's something going on here, and didn't really know what it was. And but every game and every training, it kept getting worse and worse. And so finally, I was like, I need to do something about this. And so I got some shots and everything. Still didn't work. Um, and so I ended up stopped practicing and just playing games the whole um, I mean, it was probably the last 10 games of the season. And every game, like I remember we were in the Sweet 16 and I got subbed out like 5 minutes left in the first half, and I just could not get my right foot in front of. I mean, I just could not even walk, so I really couldn't even play. Um, so I got shut down essentially for the spring, and I lost a lot of muscle. With that, I lost some confidence with my image, and I can't even really play soccer, so that I mean it just really drains you. And so going into my summer, going into my junior year, I had all these expectations, but I knew that I was not even close to being ready to play. Like my body still hurts. Um, I don't have the muscle I used to, and so that was basically not a great year for me. But at the same time, I think it was a great year for me because I've never really had to deal with like a hardship or a challenge that I went through.
Right.
Um, and so I think that was super important for me to grow. I'm very thankful because after that season, I got finally healthy my junior year spring, and I came home and I got on like a very strict plan that was going to help me elevate my game, which was I'd work out 3-4 times a week. I went on like an internship with Energy Assist, 10 or 12 to 4 or 5, and then I'd had like Spanish homework after that, and then I'd go outside and I'd do something with the ball, and I'd also train with the energy in the mornings after I worked out, and I felt like that really elevated my game and helped me get drafted and helped me have the success that I had my senior year, just because I felt that pain. I've been to the lowest point, and you can kind of get back up from that, which was it was super. I was super happy for sure.
Well, and of course you did rebound incredibly, and SMU had 3 straight conference championships, I think, after your freshman year. Um, Again, what's your best memory of college soccer?
I'd say best memory. Um, I would definitely say the my senior year in the tournament. We were in overtime against UCF in the Sweet 16, and then Eddie Majoma scored the game winner. And you wouldn't know it. I thought I scored the game winner. My shirt came off, and I was throwing it around, and that was definitely my favorite memory going into Elite Eight. But yeah, and then there's also just my class, the 2016. I mean, what is it? The 2020 class. Was just super special to me, obviously, and so like when we lost to Virginia, which to this day I feel like we should have won that game. But after we lost when they scored that PK, it was everyone was just super emotional. I don't even think it was because we really lost. It was just because our journey of playing together was over, and some people might go on to play, but, others will get jobs and do all that stuff. So I think that was probably the saddest part. But overall, I mean, it was great memories.
So playing at SMU, playing all the high caliber teams that you played, can you say who you thought the best player you ever played against was?
Oh, that's a good question. I've honestly never thought about that. But the first one that popped into my head, the one I struggled with most, would probably be against. I mean, because I played against him. It was a center back. His name was Prosper Figby. He played for USF for a year, and then he went to Virginia. And now I think he plays USL somewhere. I'm not really sure, but I mean, he was an animal. There's no other way to. I couldn't hold the ball up against him. He had my number that day, I guess, and I was like, wow, this guy's the real deal. But then also like there's attacking players that were special. Adam, oh God, how do I say his last name? Najam. I don't know. He plays USL as well. Um, but, there's a few that come to mind for sure.
Anybody get in your head?
No, never,
Good
never.
answer.
No one can get in my head.
Good
Gotta keep a cool
answer.
head.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I'm sure that your mother appreciates that as well.
Yes, she taught me well.
Yes. So then let's move on to where you're at now, your pro experience with RGV draft day. Tell me about that. That had to have been an emotional time for not even just you and your family and your friends.
Yeah, no, it definitely was. Yeah, I remember leading up to it, I was very nervous. I was like, wow, I could be anywhere in the US and I have absolutely no control. And so that was a crazy time for sure. Um, yeah, but draft day came and we had like a little brunch at our house, and some of my closest friends and the coaches that have helped me, get to where I am. Tommy Riley, Jesse, Jimmy. I'm sure I'm leaving out a few, but also like my basketball or football coaches were there as well, so that was cool to see. Um, but just I wanted a close knit group of people who have elevated me to get to this point there that have because it's not just a one man journey. So. But I remember I finally sat on the couch and it was about to start, and then I had probably, oh man, like 10 people come up to me and like slap my shoulders or like rub my hair. And I'm just like, I don't want to be touched right now. And then finally, my dad comes and hits me on the back, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like everyone stop touching me.
You're
I had to
nervous as it
let
is
out like,
anyway.
yeah, I let it out on him. But, I was just very stressed, and, but it came, and then, started watching, first, second, third, fourth. Okay, I think my time's coming soon. Hopefully, that's what I've been told. And then the eighth pick rolls around, and my agent, texts me about 30 seconds before. He goes, "You're headed to Houston." And I was like, "Wow, this is special. Like this is what when I committed to what I wanted to play my freshman sophomore year. I thought I could get here, but I never really dreamed that I would get picked eighth in the draft, which is um, just extraordinary. So it was very special, very emotional time.
I bet that's just amazing. And then was it draft day and then get on a plane or how did you make the transition to get to where you're at?
Yeah, so I got drafted, and then the next day I went to Orlando for the MLS Rookie Symposium.
Oh yeah, what was that?
Yes, so it's just kind of about like what the league is about and your options in the league, and just kind of hearing
All the
from
do's and don'ts.
past and present players and stuff like that. So it was cool. It was nice, and then I had like a few more days. I came home, and then I was out to Houston for preseason. So it's kind of how that went. Spent probably 3-4 weeks there, and then they were Dynamo was actually going to come down here to where I am now, but they sent me a few days early. They said I was going to get some training in with RGV, and then we were going to play against each other. I was going to play against Dynamo, so I said great. So we played against Dynamo, started that game, and then they left, and then I stayed here, and they didn't really tell me much after that. So that's kind of how that went, but that's okay.
I actually, believe it or not, I think I got a picture of that game. See if I can find it here. When you're in quarantine, there's your SMU picture. I meant to show that, but
Yeah.
obviously flew right past it.
Yeah.
But there, is that the Dynamo game?
Yeah. And that's my roommate too, Luca, another black kid.
Oh, there you go.
That's funny.
So yeah, so definitely great. So that was probably really kind of your first venture in playing at that level? What was your experience starting to practice against some of these pros?
Yeah, I mean, I would say can't really take a play off. I remember um, a lot of things, but I mean, you really had to give 100% at all times. I remember we'd be doing the simplest drills, and I'd be pretty tired after them. I'm like, wow, I've done these 1,000 times and never felt like this. So I really felt like I was improving a lot, and I love that about it. And I felt in a good groove, and um,
Yeah.
but that's what I remember most is I couldn't take a play. I remember after every training, I would we'd wake up at 7 and then have to go do like the prehab, and then we would train at 9, and then I would come home and I'd take a nap for 2 hours. That happened every day because I was so tired after training. So I've never felt like that before, but it was I mean, it was a great experience, and I really enjoyed it.
So I know you haven't been able to necessarily have a whole lot of experience because of the virus and the shutdown, but the question was to be asked was, so what's a day in the life of a professional soccer player look like?
Well, I can tell you before quarantine what I was doing. I was waking up at 7, and then I was making some breakfast, and then headed off to training. It's about 15 minutes away from where we live. You know, train. Well, we get there and we have to do some like prehab exercises, and then we train, and then we'd eat lunch, and then come back here. I'd either take a nap or watch some soccer or do something, um, and then I'd take a nap, and then I'd have probably 6 to 9 or 10 to kind of do whatever I wanted. So that's kind of what I would do. I started to play the ukulele, so I've been doing a little bit of that. Uh, Sometimes I read
I
or
have a
do
follow-up
that.
question to that.
Oh no.
That's funny. Well, I mean, you got to find something to pass your time, I'm thinking. So when you got there, and now that you've started to integrate as best as one can in a worldwide pandemic, what have you experienced so far that you didn't expect you were going to experience?
Ooh. Not expect. I mean, obviously the pandemic, I really felt like I, I mean, yeah, I would have never thought that, we'd have, I don't, yeah, anyways. Um, yeah, but I really don't have a good answer for you because that's kind of all I can think of is, I was in a good groove, and, um, I felt like, I've played PDL, I've trained with Energy, I've trained with Dynamo. Like there was nothing that I can say like I didn't expect of this season because I've played college soccer. It's almost like a college setup. They put you in a nice little apartment, and you train, and um, you have plenty of time to work on yourself. So that's kind of what I was doing, and then the pandemic hit, and you have to find a whole new schedule. So I've been trying to write down like 5 things that I need to get accomplished every day. Started doing
Yeah,
that last week, so
there you go.
I think that's helped me a little bit.
Cool. Well, we got about 10 minutes left. Let's do this. Anybody who has a question for Garrett, why don't you text those to Morgan, and then Morgan can ask Garrett that question. So there should be a chat function within the program that you can pick out Morgan and send her a quick chat, and then she'll make sure that the questions are appropriate and get them asked. In the meantime, Garrett, while we're waiting for people to send in questions, I've got a series of questions I have for you. They're quick, fast draw questions. All right. Favorite video game?
Oh man, it's definitely Fortnite, then probably FIFA after that.
Fortnite. I would have gone with FIFA first. I thought that would have been in your blood, but I guess you need a change of pace. Are you any
Yes,
good
definitely
at
change it.
Are you any good at Fortnite, or is it just your favorite?
I'm not as good as the other people out there, but I'm decent. I'm decent.
All right. What's going to be the first restaurant that you're going to go to when we can return to normal life?
Oh man. Well, my rotation was definitely Chipotle and BJ's were probably the top two I was going to. So either one of those.
All right.
I have a question.
Okay, Morgan's got a question then.
Okay, from Matthew. Hey Garrett, what are you making for dinner tonight?
Let's get the important stuff out right away.
We're making some pork chops and some potato wedges, probably some salad. That's what's for dinner.
All right. Because he knows the back channels, Coach Riley sent me. He wants to know what your favorite goal that you ever scored was.
Oh,
And knowing who's asking, it might want to slide towards the high school years, you know?
that's a really good question. I've really never, there's two that I just can't decide between, but it was against Deer Creek. And it was kind of on the corner of the 18. And, I passed it to Connor Carey, then he passed it back to me, and then I kind of scooped it over two guys, and then I hit it on the volley on the corner of the 18, and then it just hit between the crossbar and the post and kind of went in. So that was pretty special. And another one was what I was talking about earlier, and against TSC in the state cup. It was Quentin Carey was dribbling down the line, and then he crossed it, kind of like not really like a curved cross, but kind of like a ping, like on a low diagonal, but it kept rising. And then I just kind of was running towards the goal, then I turned my body and then just biked it, and it went upper 90. So I'd probably say those two were. I can't decide between those two.
Yeah, a bike is a pretty good one. That's what I would probably remember for the rest of my life. Okay, last TV show you binged?
Oh man, probably The Office. I've probably watched it 4 times through, I think. Probably the big one there.
That's a good one. Your favorite superhero?
Oh, I've been watching a lot of the Marvel movies, so I've gotten this question, and my answer is Thor. I like Thor the best.
Oh, yeah? All right. Morgan, do you have a question?
Yes. Okay, we got a question from Griffin, and he said, "Hello, Garrett. As a player, when going through high school, what was a main thing that helped you progress as a player? For example, maybe ball control, passing, or something else?"
That's a good question, Griffin. I would say the thing that helped me most was just getting my foot on the ball. And, I remember just dribbling through the house, and I'd dribble up to a chair, and I'd, do like a little scissor and go the other way. Or banging the ball against like a chair or a sofa. And just continually I think that's one thing that really helped me improve my foot skills, or um, just doing stuff like that, because I think that's the most important thing to do. Um, just keep your foot on the ball and continually doing that. So I would say.
All right.
Okay, we got one from Gabby, and she said, "What is your favorite Bailey moment that you can share?"
Oh man, I have so many. I have so many I can share. Um,
I feel like I almost need to put you on a time delay so I can bleep anything you say at times.
I'll say um, there's definitely. I mean, there's so many, but 2 that came to mind because I tweeted about it actually earlier, a few days ago. It was in San Diego, and he bought this big bag of cherry Jolly Ranchers, and he just would eat them nonstop. And then Keon tried to take some from him or something, and he was like running after Keon to try to get him back, and I don't think I ever laughed harder than that. And then and then another time he ended up hitting some balls into my car and broke my taillight. So that was another good memory I have of him. But no, he's awesome. He's a good coach.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other questions from the group?
Yes, Gabby wants to know, tell us about your WAG walking career.
Okay. So I used to be a dog walker for when I was in college and I had a lot of free time. Because I love dogs, and I still get the notifications down here. I'm not saying I'm retired, but I'm definitely not going to do anything right now, but not shutting that door.
Yeah, hey, you gotta have, if soccer doesn't work out, dog walkers gotta be a possibility
somehow. Yeah.
So I'm gonna leave you with two questions here. And my first one is, I don't know if you're aware, but we're running our very first OEFC non-soccer talent show on social media. So having our players highlight non-soccer talents that they may have. What is your best non-soccer talent?
Oh man, my best non-soccer talent. That's a good question. Well,
I mean, if you have to think about it this hard, can you really call it a talent?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I can juggle. I can juggle. I can kind of play the ukulele. I'm still kind of working on it. I'm very good at Mario Kart. I got a Wii, so if that's considered a talent, but I'd say that's all I got right now for you.
You got some time with quarantine to build your talent.
Yes.
Talent skills.
That's a good point.
And then the last question I'll leave you with, and I'll let you decide whether you want to answer this one or not. But I got a text from your mother, and she'd like to know which is your favorite parent.
Definitely my mom. Definitely my mom.
Good answer. Well, I do want to thank you very much, Garrett, for spending an hour with us. I've really enjoyed this. I think this was a lot of fun. I think a lot of players will get a lot out of this, and I certainly hope you had fun.
Yeah, no, it's very. I had a great time.
Good. Well, we want to wish you the best of luck in your career. Hope you get back on the field as soon as possible. I know that I'll be watching you throughout your career and on TV, and hopefully I'll be able to catch a few live games as well. But always remember that you've got a family with OEFC here. Anytime you want to come back, we will have you any day.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
And I want to say thank you to First Fidelity Bank for helping support this first broadcast. Thank you to Morgan and Team Butler for moderating and helping us put this together. And most of all, thank you to our membership and to our coaches and to our families for everything that you guys do. We would not be a club without you and everything and all of your support. So everybody stay healthy, stay safe, and we'll see you when we get back on the pitch. Talk to you later, guys. Thanks.